For Pacifica Radio, I'm Christina Onnested. Israeli police stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound for a second night of clashes with Palestinian worshippers who barricaded themselves inside the mosque. The confrontation in Jerusalem at Muslims' third holiest site prompted rocket fire from the Gaza Strip and comes as Muslims mark the holy month of Ramadan and Jews celebrate Passover. Videos show Israeli police firing tear gas and beating Muslims with their rifles. It sparked international outrage and protests in Palestine. Longtime Mideast rivals Iran and Saudi Arabia have taken another step towards reconciliation, formally restoring diplomatic ties and affirming the need for regional stability, agreeing to pursue economic cooperation. The agreement today comes during a meeting between foreign ministers of the two and a month after China brokered the deal for reconciliation. It lowers the chances of armed conflict between the two rivals, both directly and in proxy conflicts around the region like Yemen and Syria. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy hosted Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen Wednesday, along with a bipartisan delegation of more than a dozen lawmakers. China's now vowing reprisals against the island nation, which it claims, saying the U.S. is on a wrong and dangerous road. China's deployed a naval ship towards Taiwan. The meeting was seen as recognition of Taiwan's sovereignty and comes as U.S.-China relations have fallen to historic lows. Meanwhile, Chinese leader Xi Jinping called for peace talks over Russia's war in Ukraine after a visit with French President Emmanuel Macron, who appealed to him to bring Russia to its senses. Xi's comments are translated by Al Jazeera.
China insists on a peaceful resolution and is willing to work with France to maintain the rationality of the international community and avoid actions that could further escalate the crisis or let things get out of control.
Xi said peace talks should resume as soon as possible. Beijing sees Moscow as a partner in opposing U.S. domination of global affairs. China has tried to appear neutral in the conflict. The 11th round of nationwide protests in France against President Emmanuel Macron's unilateral push to up the retirement age from 62 to 64. Protesters disrupted vehicle traffic at Paris's main airport and marched in other French cities against the pension reforms. In Paris, rat catchers set the tone by hurling cadavers of rodents at City Hall. In the U.S., students walked out of school across the country Wednesday to protest gun violence. The action was coordinated by the group Students Demand Action and followed last week's shooting at a private Nashville, Tennessee school that killed 3 9-year-olds and 3 adults. Some students chanted "No more silence, end gun violence."
No more silence! End gun violence!
They called for changes to Tennessee's gun laws, including a ban on assault weapons. Student Demand Action said about 200 schools around the country participated in the actions, including cities hit by mass shootings recently, like Uvalde, Texas, where children decried the police response and demanded gun control. Meanwhile, in Tennessee, the Republican-controlled state house is expected to expel 3 Democrats for their role in a gun control protest at the state capitol last week. Catherine Carley has more.
In Tennessee, Republican lawmakers are working to expel 3 Democrats, saying they brought disorder and dishonor to the state house for taking part in a protest calling for gun safety laws. Representative Gloria Johnson says they committed no crime.
They are going with the NRA and the Tennessee Firearms Association instead of listening to the people of Tennessee. They're allowing children to die while doing nothing.
Hundreds of protesters gathered at the Capitol following the Nashville school shooting that left 3 adults and 3 children dead. I'm Catherine Carley for Pacifica Network and Public News Service.
Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer has signed legislation repealing an abortion ban from 1931 that made it a crime to assist in an abortion. Whitmer stressed it was important to strike the law from the state's books to ensure it could never be enforced again. Voters enshrined abortion rights in the state constitution last November, making the ban unenforceable. She joined other speakers at the event in calling out Republican-led states for restricting abortion rights, including South Carolina, where a proposal would make abortion punishable by the death penalty. The Republican governors of Indiana and Idaho have signed laws banning transgender children from accessing gender-affirming care. In Kansas, legislators overrode the Democratic governor's veto of a law banning transgender athletes from girls' and women's sports from kindergarten through college. And in Idaho, Governor Brad Little has signed a bill into law that makes it illegal for an adult to help a minor get an abortion without parental consent. The law is the first of its kind in the U.S. and creates a new crime of abortion trafficking, barring adults from obtaining abortion pills for a minor or recruiting, harboring, or transporting the pregnant minor without the consent of their parent. Opponents have promised to challenge the law in court. I'm Christina Onnested, reporting for Pacifica Radio.